thanks very much for joining. We will just kick off now. We've got a video to start, but we are AREG. This is part of our communications network. We're a webinar on navigating messaging in the energy transition. Basically, we've got some fantastic speakers from Mearns Gill and the Geoscience Energy Society of Great Britain. But we've also, before we kick off, we've got a short video to play from our sponsor, OGV Energy. We'll just play. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, we had a bit of a technical issue there if you couldn't hear the sound, but we just, no one from OGB was able to attend today, but they are the current sponsors of our communications network. So I want to extend a thank you for them for sponsoring our network. So
Awesome.
as I said before, for those of you that have just joined, we've got two speakers today. We've got Mearns Gill and we've got the Geoscience Energy Society of Great Britain. We have got the two presentations and then we're going to have a Q&A section at the end. So if you have any questions throughout the presentations, please put them in the text box there. So I'll introduce our first two speakers. So we have Pete McIntosh, who is the Business Development Manager at Mearns Gill. He has over 20 years experience and knowledge in advertising, marketing and media. He works with clients across diverse industries, delivering brand, design, digital and video projects. When he's not working at Mearns Gill, you can also find him hosting the Original 106 breakfast show every weekday morning. Our second speaker is Cam Duffy. He is the digital lead at Mearns Gill. He uses his expertise to drive digital and brand initiatives across a span of clients. He oversees development of digital advertising, social media content, and video production, amongst other things. He delivers cutting-edge solutions and tailored strategies to help his clients achieve maximum benefit. So I'll hand over to them for their presentation. Thank you.
My present. Thank you very much. So Chloe and Shona and AREG, thank you so much for having us along. I'm Pete, as you've said, and this is Cam. Hi there. And we're going to take you through a few slides. So we're going to, first of all, this is a really interesting subject, navigating messaging in the energy transition. And as an agency based in Aberdeen, typically it's something that we do a lot of to help our clients. So we can move on to the next slide, please. I think I'm going to say that a lot today. We're going to run over a little bit about what we do here at Mearns Gill Brand repositioning is going to be a big part of what we talk about today because it's very relevant when it comes to energy transition. So we'll do a bit about brand repositioning and just brand in general. Cam will talk you through our brand process, our look and feel. We'll get to messaging. We're going to touch on tone of voice and how that looks within energy transition and single-minded propositions. And we'll finish up with a few thoughts on how to launch this awesome new brand that you've repositioned. So first of all, what do we do here at Mearns Gill? Well, we're a full-service creative marketing agency. We've been helping companies since 1936. I haven't been here from the start. I'm quite new to the business. This makes us one of the longest serving creative marketing agency in Scotland. So that's something to be proud of. As far as our services go, we offer brand and design. Cam is going to talk a little bit more about brand in a moment, but that can be anything from brand identity, development, a brand refresh, brand repositioning. And as far as design goes, that's a massive scope of work for us. That can be anything from designing all these assets that are required once a brand is created, or designing a company's annual report or environmental statement, or designing the look and feel for a creative campaign. So there's quite a lot going on there. Website development, website maintenance, website hosting. We build on Craft CMS mainly, which is a very robust future-proof CMS system. We have a full marketing team and we do a lot of advertising and PR for our clients. So advertising traditionally, such as radio, press, TV, and we do a lot of digital. Cam, that's your bag. Mm-hmm. What would that cover?
Oh, it covers it quite a lot of things, really. So yeah, just sort of coming up with digital campaigns like content creation, branding. It kind of touches a bit of everything.
So quite a big part of what we do in terms of advertising is digital advertising. And we have our events arm as well, full events team. And that's a huge part of the business for us. So we will do events, manage events such as award ceremonies. So the Offshore Achievement Awards, the Trades Awards, they're ours. We'll also do a lot of dinner dances, staff barbecues, anything really. So it's quite an interesting department, and it really just takes the stress off managing events for everyone else. And Media Solutions, this is where we are right now. So this is our podcast room. Within Media Solutions, we offer podcast production for clients, video production, media training, and we've got a TV studio next door which we use for live streaming TV onto the internet. So quite an exciting service offering. Thank you. Next slide. Are we okay?
Sorry, we are having a wee delay on the. We're having a wee delay on the.
No problem.
That's okay. We're all going to hit my slides then.
Over to you, Cam.
Great, cool. Thanks, Pete. So yeah, just thought we'd start off talking about brand repositioning. So thought it'd be a useful place to start is like, what do we mean by brand repositioning? So just next slide, please, Chloe. So thought I'd start off with just a quote from a guy called Phil Courtier. He's the grandfather of modern marketing. So he kind of sums it up in the way of saying the act of designing a company's offering an image to occupy a distinctive place in the mind of your target audience. So for me, that kind of sums it up quite well. But the next slide, if we just go to that next, kind of elaborates on that point. So repositioning is basically, it's a strategic overhaul of a brand identity, which can involve reshaping the brand's image. In this case, for you guys, what the most relevant one would be is reflecting to sustainability and renewable energy focus. It often requires a changing messaging. So like, what is it you're saying to your audience? Like, what are the words you're putting on your website? What are the words in your ad campaigns? How your brand looks, so just the visual parts, your product offerings, like, so if you offer products or services, like how are they tailored? So how can you change that to reflect what you want to be seen as? And it usually comes with sort of readdressing who your target audience is, because if you're repositioning it, you're basically trying to attract like a different audience. So how can you position all these elements to attract them? So the ultimate goal is basically to strengthen your brand's identity and to be perceived as a leader in that industry that you wish to be seen in. So the next slide, if we just hit that next, the This is an exercise that we go through in our brand workshops. So it's called the onlyness. So it's just to get you to thinking about what is the one thing that makes you stand out? What's the one thing that your brand offer that is different and compelling to your competitors? So if we just go to the next slide, got a visual to represent that. So it's quite common in a cluttered marketplace. It's hard to stand out. Like, what does differentiate you from your competitors? So this exercise can really help differentiate you and move you away from others in your space. So it's quite difficult to do because quite a lot of companies do quite a lot of things. But if we distill it down to you, like, what is the only thing you can say that you do? So our offering is the only in this category that is blank benefit. So as an example for that, I've got one called Oatly. Don't know if there's any coffee drinkers here. Sorry, just keep moving away from my mic. Yeah, the coffee drinkers here. So Oatly is a plant-based milk company. So they make the way they differentiate themselves, because that's a very cluttered marketplace now, is they are the only plant-based milk that offers a creamy, delicious barista-style barista-style milk that focuses on sustainable practices. So they really go down that sustainability because that's another thing they're pointing out. If we go to the next slide, that just popped up there, pointing out an enemy. So their enemy is the milk industry. And they basically say, like, the milk industry, their carbon footprint is massive and they want to point out that theirs is not. So that's why sometimes positioning yourself and listing an enemy in these exercises is helpful too. Just to kind of speak about the enemy, you don't have to, call them out, but some people do. Aldi does a particularly good job at that. They have our prices versus, Tesco or other supermarkets. And the most obvious other one would be from back in the day, I don't know if anyone remembers, but the Apple versus PC sort of campaigns, like the "Hi, I'm a Mac, hi, I'm a PC" one. So those are just some examples of calling it an enemy. If we just go to the next slide, please. So I'll just talk a little bit about our process. So as a company, if you were to come to us for a brand repositioning exercise, we would get you in for a discovery session. This is kind of where it's other words for that as a workshop. So we basically sort of go through exercises like that onlyness, go through a bunch of other fun stuff, and we kind of just get everyone in the room. Usually there's a lot of coffee, a lot of cakes, and we just kind of like chat through kind of your goals and sort of formulate a strategic plan to how to get you there. After that, we present you with our findings and the report. We then present the concepts and early visuals, create a brand guideline, come up with a tone of voice, because that's quite important too. Pardon me, that's quite important too to stand out. So what do I mean by tone of voice? It's trying to think of an example off the top of my head. It's how you basically speak to your audience. And Pete will, I think, talk about this a little bit later on. But yeah, it's if you're talking to a younger generation and you're talking to an older generation, there's different ways that you would do that. There's different sort of like terminology that you'd use, different style of message and whatnot. So after that, we would then help you roll out the brand, implement it across all the various touch points. So your website, social media, all your other marketing materials and whatnot. So, and then finally, it's the launch. So that's just a little quick overview. This can change. It's not always this way. It depends on the brand and the company, but this is typically just top level stuff. So that's our process. Just hit the next slide, please. So this is where we're going to talk about look and feel. So basically like the brand part. So I thought it'd be useful before we talk about that, I thought I'd just sort of talk about what is a brand. Because a lot of people think a brand's just a logo or a color, but what really is a brand? And if we just hit the next slide. So basically, a brand is a customer's gut feeling about a product, service, or company. So in other words, it's your reputation. It's why we can all like the same company, but we can all have different sort of perceptions of it. Like the most obvious one's Apple. Like I really like Apple, Pete really likes Apple, but we have different experiences and different love levels of Apple and different attachments to it. So It's the reason why, you know, some people buy Rolexes over Casios. It's the same reason why, like, right down to the car you drive, like the shirt that you wear, like the coffee that you drink. We're all looking for that connection and meaning. So we buy brands to build up our own identity in a way. So that's just the easiest way I can think of describing what a brand actually is. And if go to the next slide, I've just got a little visual of kind of what that means. So I don't know if you guys can see that well, but it's basically talking through different sort of scenarios. So we've got advertising, marketing, telemarketing, which is not so relevant these days, public relations, design, and then finally branding. And the only difference out of these are the branding one is someone else is talking about it. So I understand that you're a great lover. All the others are basically talking about how, like, the person themselves is talking about it, or the public relations one is someone else is talking about. The branding one is the reputation piece. So that was the point of this visual here. Okay. Next slide, please, and pass you over to Pete.
Thanks, Cam. I love it that you left it on that slide about being a great lover. That was that was nice, slick handover. So let's get to messaging then, because there's a lot to consider. You've got your look and feel, but as part of that, your messaging is very important. So a big part of that is obviously your brand narrative. So you want to define a clear brand narrative that communicates the essence of your brand, its values, and its unique proposition. So this narrative should serve as a foundation for all your messaging efforts during your repositioning process. And then differentiation, very important. Identify what sets your brand apart from your competitors and communicate this through your messaging. Highlight your unique selling points here, your value proposition. This will help you attract new customers and retain existing customers. And then we've got consistency. Again, very important. Ensure consistency in messaging across all your communication channels and touch points. And remember, your message should reinforce that brand narrative and your values. These should all be in sync. Clarity and simplicity. Again, keep your messaging clear, concise, and easy to understand. So focus on straightforwardly communicating your key messages. And if you look at a lot of websites these days, you'll notice that copy's really light. We used to have huge sections, but we know people lead busy lives, and you know, as part of a user journey on a website, people don't spend long on each page. So how can you communicate these things in a nice, simple way? Emotional appeal, very important. And Cam, you kind of touched on this, but it's tapping into the emotions of your audience by crafting messages that resonate with them on a personal level. So appeal to their aspirations, their desires, their pain points, and this will help connect that emotional connection between the consumer and your brand. And then testing and feedback. So test your messaging with a sample audience if you can, or a focus group. Very useful. Gather their feedbacks and insights, and then use that feedback to make final adjustments before you then go ahead and roll it out. So that's messaging. That's what you say. Tone of voice, it's how you say it. So authenticity. So ensure that your tone reflects a genuine commitment to sustainability and responsibility and responsible energy practices. So again, avoid language that might appear insincere. Clarity, again, use clear and concise language to communicate technical information, avoiding jargon that might confuse some audience. And I was kind of thinking about some examples of this, and carbon capture and storage came to mind because it can be a bit of a minefield trying to explain that to someone who doesn't really know about it. But then if you simplify it and explain it in terms of something like this, carbon capture and storage is like a giant vacuum that sucks up harmful CO2 emissions from factories and power plants. Instead of letting it escape into the air, we stash it safely underground, like hiding it away in a secret underground bunker, so it can't cause any harm to the environment. So suddenly you've got something that's quite technical. You're using a little bit of storytelling around that, which is quite a nice way of approaching it. And yeah, you're going to have the engineers and the technical people that want to hear all the techie stuff, but quite a lot of your audience will just want to hear it in plain English. Optimism, so maintain an optimistic tone. So this will inspire confidence in your ability to navigate the energy transition successfully, highlighting opportunities. for innovative and positive impact engagement. So encourage dialogue and collaboration. You can do this on your social platforms. Quite a lot of clients are starting to do it on podcasting, which we can help with, by the way, and participation in sustainable initiatives. So for us, for example, we're not an energy company, but we certainly work with a lot of them. So, we've taken on board little things like we've got our carbon neutral status, and, other things you can do. Go out and plant some trees, go out and clean up a beach, all that kind of stuff. And next slide, please. So single-minded proposition. I quite like these. So in a previous role, I was head of creative at Borough Media. Essentially, I was writing radio ads for national and regional and local companies. And a big thing that we used to hammer on about was a single-minded proposition. It's quite a difficult thing to get to, but we always used to ask our clients to try and work out what their single-minded proposition was. So basically, it's one big thing that you want to be famous for. So for example, something that could be relevant to, sorry, if you can just go back to that last slide, something that could be relevant to energy transition could be something like doing XYZ today for a better tomorrow. A little bit cheesy, but you get the idea. So let's take a look at some other well-known examples.
Yeah, so this is Nike, just do it. Everyone knows that. So what is it they were trying to say about that? Like they want to be known for inspiring. It's why they've aligned themselves with top athletes. When they first came up with this campaign, they were the four founders of doing that. Not many of the people were like celebrity endorsements weren't that big back then. So they're constantly aligning themselves with top athletes because they want you to inspire and want to inspire you, to just do it, to sort of anyone can be an athlete if you're wearing Nikes. That's kind of what they're saying there. So we've just got a couple more. So we've got the next one up is Apple. So Apple, the Think Different campaign, very famous. Everyone kind of, that kind of like really shook up the advertising world. So when Steve Jobs came back to Apple, the company wasn't doing that good. PC was overtaking them, IBM and all that kind of stuff. They were overtaking them in the market. So Apple came up with this Think Different campaign, and it's to basically, it was all about being different, being the round peg in a square hole, the people, the change makers. They were saying and they had really famous, well-known people like Gandhi, and I can't think who else was in it, but yeah, all these sort of really famous people like John Lennon, all these people. So basically, the reason for this message is and why it worked so well is because people saw that and they were like, oh, that's me. Like I'm a bit different. Like I think different. I feel like that. And then they immediately had that emotional connection. Okay, Apple is the company for me. The next time I get a PC, it's an Apple. Okay, and then next one up is the Disneyland. So they're just all about sort of trying to create this sense of wonder and joy, and that's why they've got theme parks, like all their movies that they touch on. Just all about sort of trying to create this like happiest place on earth.
Who isn't happy when they're at Disneyland?
Well, I don't know, not me.
And moving on, we're going to run over a couple more examples of who does this really well within the energy brandscape. So next slide, please. Total Energies committed to better energy. So this communicates its dedication to providing energy solutions that are efficient, sustainable, and environmentally responsible. I'm going to zip through these because I know we're kind of probably running over time a little bit. So Aker Solutions, making a sustainable difference. This reflects Aker's commitment to sustainability and its efforts to make a positive impact in the energy industry. And we've got one more, which is Chevron, Human Energy. I just love that because it's just such a campaignable single-minded proposition. It focuses on the idea of human potential and the emphasis of the role of energy in enabling progress and development. And I think we have one more slide to go. So you've been through a brand repositioning process. You've got your look and feel, you've got your new logo, your color palette, your typography, you've got this tone of voice guide. You want to launch. So there's so many different ways that you can launch, and part of what we do here, as well as the brand process, we don't stop there. We take it right through to launch and then beyond. So Cam, do you want to maybe take this first one?
Yeah, so the first obvious one is digital marketing. So we would come up with a campaign idea, a launch plan, basically. Usually starts with social media and content on your website. The great thing with digital is it's all trackable, and you can kind of like pivot along the way. So yeah, it would just be coming up with that in the first instance. All the different touch points. It tends to be much cheaper as well. It's easier to sort of swap out a logo or a message on a website than it would be to sort of change a load of signage. So yeah, the first one we tend to look at is the digital marketing.
We have a PR department here, so PR is very important. It's a nice way of kind of putting your point across in a published article. A brand launch event, so that's something that we do a lot through our events team here at Mearns Gill. Stream TV, so this is used a lot for showcasing either a new product or launching a new brand, whether that's launching it publicly or launching it internally to your workforce across multiple offices. Podcasting. I was always going to say that because I love podcasting, but I think a podcast is a great way to kind of launch a brand and talk about it, and also use it as a platform for storytelling. And then finally, traditional advertising as well. Outdoor advertising, something that's going to hit people in big writing when they walk out the airport or on the side of a bus, radio, TV, press. So yeah, that's, I guess, where we've got to. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. I know there's going to be a Q&A later, but as Shona said at the start, we'd be delighted to continue the conversations, and I'm sure that our details can be passed on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. That was hugely informative, and there's a lot, a lot of actionable solutions there. So, yeah, just as was said, there's options for Q&A in the chat. So just get us in your questions, and we'll be asking them at the end of the call. So next up, we've got Maria Iredale, who's the Executive Director of the Geoscience Energy Society of Great Britain, or GESGB. She joined the company back in 2016 when it was the Petroleum Exploration Society of Great Britain. In 2016, it was during the time of the oil and gas downturn. So Maria was able to help the company adapt and change to stay viable and kind of advance and take advantage of the wider energy mix. And she's here to tell that story. So thanks very much, Maria. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for this opportunity. I don't often get asked to do this kind of thing, and you'll probably find out why as we get through the presentation. But I was really pleased when they said I got to talk about navigating messaging in the energy transition, and it's quite different from what Cam and Pete have been presenting, because I'm going to tell you a story of how we went from the PSGB to the GSGB. It was quite a long and arduous journey. And you may be thinking, why have I called it the ruination of the PSGB? Well, there's two reasons for that. The first reason is that was one of the accusations that was levelled at us by the membership when we said we wanted we said we were going to be changing the name, and it was like something from Shrek with the pitchforks and things all coming for us. And also, I go to a lot of presentations within the energy kind of industry, and I think they need more drama in them. So that's why I've kind of gone with that title, because I think we need to bring a little bit more drama to the energy industry. I wanted to build my presentation around a quote, because I was trying to kind of figure out what it was that I wanted to say. And there is a leadership writer called John C. Maxwell, and he said, great communication depends on two simple skills: context, where you're attuned to the same frequency as your audience, and delivery, which allows you to phrase messages in a language that your audience can understand. And I wanted to talk to you through this presentation about context and delivery, and how we use that to change the name of the society. And I hope this presentation will show that we consider that throughout the comms process of the names change. Next slide, please. Who, why? that's the context part of it. We were the PSGB, which started in 1964 with the birth of the North Sea oil industry, and we changed to GSGB in 2023. As we're a charity, it's not easy to change your name. You've got to do a special resolution, and for that you needed 70% of the voting membership to vote in favour of the name change. And they'd talked about it before, but they'd steered away from it. And the reasons for the change was they wanted to reflect the careers of those entering the energy industry in order for us to be sustainable as a society, because oil and gas is coming to an end in the next few decades, and we needed to be representing that wider energy mix. And a lot of the members, they've got transferable skills, and they've got massively broad interests within the energy society, within the energy industry. They're not just hydrocarbon focused, they're interested in all of it. And no one wanted to talk to us because we got petroleum in the name. We struggled to book a venue, we couldn't get into universities, people campaigned for us not to turn up, and we couldn't carry on that way. So the people that we had to convince to do this were the 3,000 members. They needed to understand why we wanted to change, and we had to get their buy-in for this. The board and the council were the ones who made the decision on that. It took them a year to make the decision to change the name, and then it took us 18 months to make that change. So none of these things are fast when you're looking at repositioning. We had to be sensitive to the sponsor companies, because we had oil and gas companies who were regular sponsors of us, and we needed to take people with us on this journey, and they needed to understand why we needed to change the name. Universities, at one point, in 2014, we were the largest funder of MSCs in the UK for people doing MSCs in petroleum related studies, and lots of universities wanted to talk to us because we were giving them money. Now, prior to the name change, there was only 2 universities who would talk to us, Aberdeen and Imperial. The rest of them just wouldn't entertain us at all, and we went from 350 to 400 students down to less than 50. We had to do something. We needed to make a change. We have a LinkedIn community of 10,000 plus people, and we needed to take those people with us on that change. We have a non-member community who are what you'd call a warm lead, people who are interested in the society, have not signed up for membership, but they're just keeping an eye on what we're doing. And then we have, I've referred to them as expired members, but they're not dead. They're lapsed members. They're people who were members but are no longer members, and that could be for a variety of reasons. So that's my context. Next slide, please. We then had to look at delivery, and when you go through the amount of different delivery channels that you've got to talk to the people that you want to influence, it's quite shocking. I was like, oh, and another bullet, and another bullet. We create a marketing schedule. It's usually like for 12 months in advance, because we've got lots of conferences and things that we need to market around. And then we put in the other messaging that's going to be happening to speak to the members about various activities, and that all fits around it. So it's quite a tightly managed marketing schedule. So that was our major piece of communication and how we manage that. We do emails. So we've got a really sexy one that we do every month, which is our e-bulletin, which can have animations and kind of all kinds of links, and it's super lovely. And that one, like I say, is monthly, but we do weekly ones and we do daily specials. But we don't want to bombard the members. We've done that before and everybody unsubscribes. So that's a gentle, nuanced piece with the emails. We do the non-member emails. Those are to those people who are sniffing around but have not yet signed up. We do ones to our sponsors, and I like to give those, if there's a little bit of information that's coming out that no one knows yet, we put that with the sponsors so they find out things in advance. The LinkedIn is a huge comms channel for us, and we do several posts. We do many posts a week on that, and we do general posts, but we also do ones that are heavily tagged because we want people to talk about us, so they get them to share it. And the YPs, the young professionals, they have their own LinkedIn, and they put things out and then tag us, and we do sort of like a little tag team. We do slides at our events, and sometimes that slide pack can be nearly as much as what the people are presenting because there's a lot going on. And we talk through that, so that's a really good way to communicate with the people who are actually in the room. We do a quarterly magazine, hard copy and online. It used to be monthly, it used to be hard copy for everyone. Now it's only hard copy if you're prepared to pay for the postage, and it's online or in PDF for those people who want a computer to read it to them. It's not as good as a communication channel as it once was when it all went out hard copy, but we've all changed the way that we consume our information now. Media partners, we've got lots of media partners we have agreements with, so we get some advocacy. They talk about us, we talk about them, which is really useful. It goes back to some of the things that Pete and Cam were saying. We got podcasts in the pipeline. We've had a little dipped our toe in the water there, and hoping to put both feet in later on this year. We're doing a current campaign, which is 60 thank yous, because it's our 60th anniversary year. It has been our most successful comms campaign that we've done. It happens on LinkedIn, so check it out if you want to see what we're doing. Every 2 weeks, we do a spotlight on 2 of the members that my team, just in the office, it's not like a big one. We've asked lots of questions of the members. It's the people that we wanted to say thank you to, because they've helped the society through helping us. And we get so much traction with that, because we put up something nice and specific about them, and then all of their friends jump in and everybody shares it. It's really, really successful. Monthly lectures, we also do lectures in London and Aberdeen, and then that's an opportunity for us to speak to people face to face, which is a comms channel we shouldn't forget about, and one that I particularly enjoy. That is my delivery piece. So next up, thank you very much. That was very well preempted of you. This is how we changed the message to the groups to go from the PSGB to the GSGB. We had to give people a reason to change. We did it over 18 months, and we considered all the different kinds of people who were members of the society and how they were different, whether that was through age or discipline, etc. And we made sure that the communication over that 18-month period would focus at some point on those different indicators, so there would be something for everyone. And over 18 months, if we've sent 12 different messages to each of those nuanced silos, then you might read one at least. You're not going to read all 12. Even now, some of the members aren't aware that we've changed the name, even though we did it in 2023. So they don't all get the comms. But we changed it, we did it by age. So we have 3 age groups, 35 and below, 36 to 55, and 56 and above. And so we have, so the people at the beginning of their career or up to what you call a YP, those furiously working in the middle of their career, and those then who are senior and or retired. So each of those people had a different message. And we did it by discipline as well, because within the energy sort of sector, the engineers are different from the geophysicists, and the geoscientists are different from the people who work on the rigs and the mud loggers, and all of the different, I don't know all of them, I'm not a geoscientist, but all of the disciplines are different, and the people who work within them have got different characteristics. And so trying to hit those different disciplines through the messaging was important. They've got different interests, and some people are really super interested and engaged with the society, and some people really don't care, and they just get the benefits of being a member. And so we needed to either be super talking about our history and how that and how we were evolving, or your benefits are staying the same. It's fine, you know, whichever one of those ones that you fitted into. Expired, again, like I say, not dead, or current. So the message for the current members was, this is your chance to have your say. Do you want to change the name? We're looking to broaden our remit. And to the people who are elapsed and were no longer members, consider coming back. We're changing what we do. We're broadening our horizons. If you left because you went to work in seismic for wind, come back, because we're changing what we do. We got geo-influencers, and I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if I've invented that, but there are always those people on LinkedIn or within any kind of industry that people follow. People want to hear what those people say. And getting those people on side to do your talking for you is really useful. So we've identified those people who are geo-influencers. We've engaged those people and got them to talk about the fact that the PSGB was changing into the GSGB, and to get them to support it. And then we've got those who just love us regardless. Those people who've been with the society since the late 60s, and they are going to stay with us no matter what we do, because it speaks to their loyalty to the society. And we wanted to make sure that those people felt cherished, because loyalty is important. So these all played a part in this 18-month long-term strategy for communicating with the membership to get everybody on board for the vote to change the name. It was like doing something for the general election. But we did the vote, and we got 77% of the membership to vote in favour. So it was touch and go. And those people who voted against were incredibly vociferous in their objection to the society changing its name. Next slide, please. The repercussions of the change. Members left, and some were made to. I can't tell you some of the horrible emails that and kind of things that people sent to me and to the governing body about, you know, how they felt we were ruining the PSGB, that it was, you know, we were going to hell, that we'd orchestrated this, it was all lies. And many members left. I mean, many members said, well, you know, we work in oil and gas, and if you're not going to be doing oil and gas, then we don't want to be part of it. But we haven't. We still do at least 70% oil and gas. But the membership have changed. The membership are moving into other areas, like I say, transferable skills. And we needed to, we still do the oil and gas. We've just broadened off. So we're just including other things now. We have a breakaway group. They're the rebels. They call themselves a PSGB, and they meet quarterly, and they don't want to talk to us, and I've offered to advertise their meetings for them, but they don't want to be part of us. They are the PSGB, and they meet and go drinking every quarter. New members of different disciplines. We're seeing a lot more members coming in from the wider energy mix, which is always exciting. We got more students coming in now, and we've got a target of 60 students in our 60th year. We're going to universities and talking to them, which we couldn't do before with our name. And that's a real positive for us. There's an excitement around future opportunities. I wouldn't be doing this if we were still called the PSGB, because AREG wouldn't be talking to us. We've still got radicals, which are the ones who run the breakaway group. We've got those retirees who are just giving us a chance to see if they like it. But we've got lots of returners, people who had left the society but have decided to come back because of who we are now. Next slide, please. So in summary, back to the quote, for context, we try, in understanding our audience, we certainly made every effort to understand all the different parts of our audience, and we worked on letting those members know that we were listening to them. But in the end, the decision was theirs. I don't have a vote. they voted 77% to change the name. And with the delivery, our members have lots of ways to hear from us. And just doing this presentation, I was like, wow, yeah, no, we do. We talk to them. And as time moves on, I'd like to broaden that further and maybe look at video, audio, or geo-influencers on TikTok. I think there may be a market. By expanding our remit, it is the only way that we can keep building on the work that we've done so far and ensuring that the society is sustainable and there for the next generation of geoscientists. So thank you very much. Questions are welcome, but not compulsory.
All right, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Ria. It's kind of very effective in illustrating the issues that you faced. I think you must be an expert in handling difficult situations. So thank you both for thank you all for presenting. We'll move into the Q&A session now. So if anyone has any questions, please either write them in the chat or in the Q&A section. But I'll just kick off to start us off. So I guess this will be to both Mearns and Gill and Maria. How would you, or what advice would you give for leveraging experience in one industry or in one sector to then move into another sector, but using that experience to excel in what they're doing?
Are we on mute? No.
No, yeah. So do you want to take this? Have you got any thoughts, Cam?
Can you read that out again, please? Sorry. So what experience would...
How would you, or what advice would you give for companies that have either been in one industry and are moving to another, like GESGB, or you know, from your perspective, you know, operating across industries? What advice would you give them to kind of harness their experience and use that in the new field?
So I guess as part of, if we're talking your repositioning due to energy transition, I guess some of the things you could do and some of the stuff that we would do during a discovery would be conducting a brand audit. So, you know, kind of where do you sit in the marketplace against your competitors? And you can literally create mood boards or however you do this to look at all your different competitors and find something unique about your business compared to theirs. It might be that you pick out your top 5 competitors and you see that one's talking about product and services, that one's also talking about product and services, so is that one. But we talk about our people. So suddenly you've got something that's a little bit unique and different. So that would be just kind of one part of repositioning, I guess. And going back to the stuff we spoke about, brand narrative, that's obviously an important kind of consideration. So creating something that aligns with your commitment to sustainability. So you're not making claims that you can't achieve. So it's kind of that whole thing that we spoke about, being transparent. Don't know if that answered your question or maybe some of it. Cam, have you got anything?
I think Maria kind of touched on it really eloquently, actually. It's about taking the people on the journey with you as well. Like when you reposition, and sorry to maybe stole your answer there, Maria, but I was just really taken by that. It's just introducing this drama, but I love that. And then also just when you do reposition, it's so important to get that communication piece right. When you are pivoting to another industry or looking to reposition yourselves, it's all about taking your people, so your staff, your audience, just taking them on that journey with you, communicate with them clearly exactly what you do, why you're wanting to do it. And yeah, that's probably all I've got to say on that.
Would you agree, Maria? Is that similar to kind of your experience?
Yeah, I think Pete and Cam are really great answers. I would say my advice would be think about how long it's going to take and double it, because getting that message through, you think that you're being super duper clear and everything, but getting people to understand that you're changing takes such a long time. And you know, kind of the amount of communication you need, it's not one message, it's not 5 messages, it's a lot of messages over a long period of time to get people to understand that you're going to change.
Yes, it must be pretty. So I've got another question from Maria. You mentioned sort of future opportunities in geoscience. You know, for a young person or someone early in their career, or even just looking to change industries, what advice would you give them, to position themselves to have a successful transition into the industry?
It's different, isn't it? At the moment within the hydrocarbons sector, they're super worried because there just no students coming through who want to do oil and gas. There just aren't. It's really suffering from bad press, and there's going to be a real shortage, because there's going to be oil and gas, till I don't know, till 2050 or whatever. And so I can see people coming from the renewable sector and retraining and going into oil and gas, because there's going to be such a gap. But at the moment, there is a real interest around moving from oil and gas, particularly into wind. People are super excited about the opportunities that CCS is going to present. And my advice would be just kind of keep your eye on what's happening, and find those areas where you need the additional experience and the additional knowledge to make the most of those opportunities when they come. But it may be that it goes the other way, that you go from renewables into oil and gas in the next sort of 10 to 15 years, because there's going to be a big gap.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, that's hugely interesting. We've got another question from the Q&A. How often should an organization refresh their brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends really. It's different for every company, but typically we find brands come to us if they're like, there's a drop in their market share, or they don't think the brand really represents like who they are, or if they're looking to attract a different audience member. So it's really different. There's no one answer that fits all. It could be tempting if you see like all your competitors like doing rebrands, and you're like, oh, maybe should I do one? But it really depends on the company.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule every 5 years or anything like that. But there's obviously factors, market conditions, Cam, as you kind of touched on, and sometimes it just comes down to a change of leadership, or it might be that you've conducted some internal conversations and people have kind of thought that the brand's a bit tired. And sometimes, we've taken on projects where we've just done really light refreshes to a brand, maybe even a website. So we're not diving full in with a complete rebuild, but a client's kind of noticed that the website's great, they love the structure, but they think it's a little bit tired because they've had it for a number of years, and it can do with some touching up. So things like more white space, less copy, and kind of little tweaks like that almost kind of keep the brand up to date. So I guess it's kind of that mix of market conditions and personal preference as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it must be, there's so much to go into it. It would be, a huge kind of consideration. But unless there's no more questions, we've just got one final one. So what are potential challenges that, you've seen, or either you've experienced yourself or that you've seen companies experience when they undergo a strategic overhaul to that more sustainable approach? Kind of what challenges have you seen them face?
Yes, I think Maria again just touched on it earlier, like the resistance internally. That can be like a big factor. So we're kind of currently, I can't say who, but we're currently working on a rebrand at the moment, and it's some various companies sort of merging into one, and it's trying to sort of get the culture right. You don't want to, because that's a huge part of it. It's like taking the staff on the journey with you, and making sure that to become one entity, it needs to be communicated perfectly, and everyone needs to be on board with it. So it's really a challenge actually to make sure everyone's kind of happy, feels part of like the same mission, and like from a culture standpoint. That's something that I've come across quite recently.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair point. And just with that kind of internal resistance as well, we've been involved in projects where we've helped teams pitch ideas up the ladder to their leadership team. So, we can support by creating pitch decks that kind of explore an internal idea. But just another kind of thought on challenges that a client might face. For me, I think the biggest one is often time. It's quite a big deal to embark on a brand repositioning project, and that's probably why you do want to engage with a good agency that can take a lot of that time off your hands. So as Cam explained, during our kind of process, we'll have this discovery part, and that's where we need an investment of a client's time. Really important to get the right people in the room for that. But then we do all the work. You know, we can do the audits, the competitor analysis, and the concepts, and so it's our job is to make life easier for our clients. So I would say, time's a big challenge, but to overcome that, just make sure you've got a good agency on board.
And again, sorry if I stole your answer there, Maria. Just your case study was just so great. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I haven't really got anything else to add. I'm not any kind of marketing expert. I'm just someone who's been through the process. It was really helpful to have a vote that said 77% of people agreed with what it was that we did, because they're not the ones who sent the emails that said, oh, we're really supportive of this. The people who send the emails are the ones who say, you are evil, you are a liar, you are done this and you are done that. And going through a journey where you're changing the brand and you're making a change, the people who are the loudest are the ones who disagree with you, and being able to then have a vote at the end, and for those people who didn't feel particularly strongly but were supportive, and they could speak through the vote. That was really made you feel like everything that you'd done was worthwhile, because there will always, if you're going on a journey to and saying we're going to be more sustainable, and you're walking the walk and you're talking the talk, there will always be people who are going, oh, you just woke, you're just greenwashing, and they're going to level things at you. But most people will go, they'll be clapping, but you just can't see them.
Yeah, no, so I mean, that's hugely helpful and insightful, and hopefully very valuable to the attendees on the call. So just wanted to say thank you very much to our speakers, Maria, Pete and Cam. That was brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've managed to fix hopefully the sound, so we'll just I'll hand over to Chloe to say a few words about what AREG's got upcoming, and then we'll replay our OGB sponsor video. So thank you everyone for attending, and thanks to the speakers.
Hi everyone, sorry, I'm aware the session's nearly over, so I won't take up too much of your time, but it's just a quick note about the project that we launched on Monday this week. So the title is Enhancing Offshore Wind Through Digital Innovation, and the aim of the project is to help digital technology companies transition into offshore wind, or help digital SMEs really find their groove in the offshore wind industry. We'll be doing this by delivering tailored expert advice, providing leadership support, and introducing network opportunities. There are plenty of opportunities for our members and non-members to inquire and get involved with the project. It's going to be running over the next year. So we're going to be running quite a few events in line with this project that you can get involved with. So we've got a hackathon, Meet the Developer event, a small business showcase, incubator events, which we'll be running with Opportunity Northeast. We have our digital dissemination event, and we have 3 digital innovation networking events, which will also be running over the course of the year. As I mentioned a second ago, plenty of opportunities to get involved and really showcase yourself as a digital tech company, and really make that transition into the offshore wind industry. In terms of AREG's next events that are coming up, we have a supply chain and technology event, which is a webinar on the 9th of May, which will focus on the art of project funding. We will have speakers from ETZ and from CCC Training, who will focus on tips and tricks for applying on project funding, and we'll look at ETZ's Capital Challenge funding. And you can find all the details of upcoming events and of our project on our website and our LinkedIn. And if you are interested in collaboration or getting involved, you can email us at info@aberdeenrenewables.com or get in touch with us via LinkedIn or our website.
Okay, thank you again, everyone. Thanks for attending, and thanks to our speakers. We'd like to extend another thanks to OGB Energy, who are our sponsors for our communications network.